Hello and welcome to the NDTV Diageo Road to Safety series. In all our programs, we've been looking at the state of road safety in India, the causes for fatal accidents and what we can do to raise awareness. And here's why. The annual road crash deaths in India are 14 times the number of people killed in all the wars since independence, and that's just one frightening statistic. Today we look at drinking and driving and the issue of underage drinking and, of course, drinking driving deaths. On this program, we've got a very special panel. We've got with us Satyendra Jain, the Minister for Health in the Aam Aadmi Party government. He'll be joining us. Piyush Tiwari, founder of the Save Life Foundation. Maxwell Pereira, former Joint Commissioner of Delhi Police. And Dr. Vijay Datta, the principal of Modern School Barakhamba Road here in Delhi. And we've also got a young audience, and perhaps they'll take some questions or they'll pose some questions to our panelists as well. Let's go straight across now to the Minister, Satyendra Jain. Mr. Jain, do you believe that the number of breath analyzers picked up by the Delhi police is actually enough to cut down on drinking and driving?
I think number of analyzers are less. They may be increased, and moreover, the number of analyzers the police are having, they should use more frequently, so that may work as a deterrent. Right now they are using them in drive only. Why not daily? They should be used daily.
Sir, Delhi has one of the highest accident rates. To what extent do you believe that drinking and driving is actually a huge factor in this?
This is one of the reasons, but this is not the only reason. One of the major reasons is the drunken driving. There is data shows that most of the accidents occur between 9 to 12 in the evening, and at that time many people are drunk.
So entire families are destroyed in car accidents, not just one person who may be involved in a car accident. What is your appeal to young people in Delhi?
My appeal to the young people and their parents that ask their ward not to drink and drive. If someone is drunk, so then come by a taxi or something else. Don't drive. Drinking and driving, mixing drinking and driving is a very dangerous combination. So don't drink and drive.
Piyush, statistically, in as shocking as drinking and driving cases are, they account for just a very small percentage of the overall numbers. Is that why perhaps the focus on drinking and driving has not been what it should?
Well, we don't know what the numbers are, to be honest, because the way most road crashes are investigated, it does not follow a scientific form of investigation. Many police departments across the country still rely on the age-old, sort of perspective of blaming the bigger vehicle at fault. Many times, the driver and as well as the victim are not even tested for alcohol, consumption after the, immediately after the incident. So that's one part, which is the data part. We really don't know what the real numbers are. The second issue there is that it comes down to the control aspect, and that control ranges from the alcohol policy to enforcement down to the home, where parents can have an agreement with their teens and with their children regarding this aspect. So the entire conversation has only about just started on this, on what the real factors are and how they can be enforced. But we've seen in Delhi, for example, that there are officers who've really cracked down on this aspect, and I know that people have actually are afraid to drive now after drinking. Unfortunately, this is an officer-driven intervention and not systemic as such, because our laws are so archaic that they don't enable an environment where a sustainable intervention can be carried out, and I think that's where the real problem lies.
Yeah, Mr. Pereira, I tend to agree with what Piyush was saying, that we've had officers leading from the front in operations like this, conducting these breathalyzer tests and getting after people no matter what their background is. But is that a real concern, that if it's not officer driven, if it's not driven by very high ranking officials, there is an easy bribe and people get away?
True, it is traffic enforcement definitely is found wanting to the level it is required. So comes the breathalyzer. The actual fact about breathalyzers is what? There has to be a standardization across the country, and that standardization has to be accepted as enough evidence by a court of law that hears the or adjudicates the prosecution.
Well, joining us now, Abanti Shankar Narayan. She is the business head of luxury and corporate relations at United Spirits. And you may well be asking why a company which is a manufacturer of liquor should be part of a program like this. But their message is very clear. Be responsible when you drink, and that's why they have chosen to come on board. Abanti, is it difficult for you in a sense? Is there a clash or a conflict in a sense between what you market, what you sell, and the adverse impact that it has on the road?
We believe that doing good is good for business. And in today's day and age, companies have to do more than just create profits. They are there to create shared value, not just for themselves or their shareholders, but really also to create value for the communities and the society within which they operate. As an alcohol company, Diageo USL is genuinely committed to addressing the harmful effects of alcohol on society. We run over 370 responsible drinking programs across more than 70 countries around the world. So this is very, very core to us. It's part of our DNA, and all markets around the world are mandated to run responsible drinking programs. In India, Diageo USL has identified two key issues with alcohol misuse. One is drink and drive, and the other, which is what we are talking about today, is underage drinking. So in order to address this issue in India, we are running a very large national program wherein we are going into universities and colleges and talking to students about the perils of underage drinking, and basically telling them, informing them that drinking below, if you're below legal drinking age, is illegal, and here is why also you shouldn't do it. We have gone to nearly 7,000 students in the last 1 year across 6 different states: Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Haryana, and Punjab among those. What we are finding, and that's something that we are very energized by, is that the principals and the faculty of these universities and colleges are welcoming this program. In fact, they are saying it's very timely and willingly giving us time to come and run this.
Dr. Datta, is there, do you, over the years of being a teacher, a principal, do you see an increased trend among young people to drink earlier than before?
I think it is on a decline. The campaigns that have been going on have made an impact. So will this one, the one that we are currently on. I'm sure the youngsters understand by the day, as the media takes this on, that drinking, firstly, is not a good idea. If you happen to, do not drive. That part, I think, is getting clearer by the day.
I think there is a very clear responsibility and accountability that rests with the parents. There are clear sections in the Motor Vehicles Act that talk about culpability. If you allow an unauthorized person to drive a vehicle, then you are held responsible. Those charges are rarely applied on parents. The second thing is that the same accountability also rests with the institutions. So the places where they are drinking, that there are many places, many retail institutions that allow children to come and drink, and there is rarely a check on IDs as to what their real age is.
The responsibility is theirs, and it needs to be...
Yeah, and that has to... So again, a clear message has to be sent out that if there is a death or an injury that is involving somebody who's had a drink there, then the institution has to be involved and has to be held culpable in that sense. And the retailers have to be willing to say that, okay, we will let go of 5% of our revenue, but we will save these important lives. That responsibility aspect is missing. And I think enforcement is key to ensure that responsibility and accountability in the system.
So I think the thing that needs to happen is that we create a larger ecosystem around the whole issue of underage drinking, that we are able to institutionalize it in some way rather than leave it to the vagaries of a few individual programs running. So a couple of thoughts that we are working on are first to see how we can incorporate the whole underage drinking education part into the larger life skill curriculum that's there in a few boards, school boards. And the second that we want to do is to really work with our retail partners and trade to put up very visible signage at the point of sale and consumption, stating the legal drinking age and urging that people who are below drinking age are not served alcohol. But again, I underscore the importance of enforcement, and I think that's the big thing that we have to absolutely work in partnership with state governments on. And that's something that's also actively under discussion with a few states.
Any questions?
Hello, sir. My question is to Mr. Datta. Sir, since you said about underage driving, so some students drive their vehicles to schools. Even when they are 12 or 13, they start driving a scooter, whose legal driving age is more over 16 because they have a learner's license. So how is the school playing a vital role in this? How is the school playing a vital role in underage driving to stop the students from driving their vehicles from schools? And
that's a great question. Why don't you go ahead, sir? Yes.
We have the public transport, like our school has the DTC buses running. This is first thing to discourage. We tell the parents, send the buses by public transport. Secondly, if they arrive on a vehicle, then we check them. We say, look, you shouldn't have come on this. So we stop them from coming on vehicles in the school.
All right, we need to take a short break at this stage. We're going to be back to wrap up this discussion in a few moments from now. Stay tuned.